Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. It is Mike's Talks and Thoughts here, and today I have another character tier list for you guys. Back again with the characters tier list, and today I have one of the most underrated shows I feel in Banshee. Now, Banshee was a show that I recently finished here a couple weeks ago. And I just absolutely love this show. I think it's one of the most underrated shows of all time. It's never really talked about at all or praised as like a top show. So I definitely want to share out my characters' tier list for you guys. Hopefully, you guys can get intrigued by this. If you love stories about anti-heroes and following the bad guys like I do, you will definitely love this show. Um, it also follows the police side. So if you like police procedurals, even though it mainly follows like an anti-hero in Lucas Hood, um, is definitely going to be a show for you. A lot of great action in this show, a lot of great storytelling as well. But before we get started here in this characters tier list, there's a couple characters on this tier list that no matter how much I looked up online, I just couldn't figure out who they were. When I get to them, I'll tell you about them. But I just recently watched the show, so it's fresh in my mind. So some of these characters, like they left some really integral characters out of this tier list, but then put in some of the most obscure picks. It was just really weird. So whoever made this tier list, this is the only tier list you can find on the Tier Maker website that's already pre-made. So yeah, we're just gonna go through everyone here. I'll point out what I think of each of these characters. So yeah. So first here we have the star of the entire show. We have Lucas Hood, of course, the man who was in prison for 15 years and then assumes the identity of Lucas Hood. It's actually never revealed in the series what his actual name is, so I can't call him by his actual real name. It's never revealed. They tease it throughout the entire series about getting revealed, and then they never reveal it. So, but yeah, he is awesome. He's the leader of this story. He's a badass. He's a cop. He's a badass cop, pretty much. And really great story around him. Anthony Starr is awesome. Easily the best character on the entire show. So next here, another character. Another one I had to look up because you don't pick the FBI agent in a fixer of sorts, the best episode in the series. You pick this FBI agent who no one really remembers. So D tier, just not memorable at all. Next here we have one of the Kanaho police. This is Amy. She has a lot of connection with Chayton in the series, but she's just gonna go in C tier. I think she's okay. Not really that memorable though. Alex Longshadow. I actually, when I was watching this is the guy who was in Scream the TV series. So I had recently watched that. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool that he was in this. I'm gonna put him in the B tier though. I think he's a pretty good sort of villain. He's the leader of the Kanahos for a lot of the series, and he does a lot of dealings with Proctor in this show. So I think he's a B tier character. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Long Shadow. Next tier, this is the attorney, one of the defense attorneys, of course, that are. Actually, no, this is the prosecutor who works with Gordon. Of course, she's involved in the infamous tribal episode. I'm gonna put her in C tier as well. Just okay character. Um, Not really too memorable either. Another one. This is the receptionist at the Banshee Police Department. Alma. She's just not memorable at all either. Next here we have Billy Raven. Someone who was with the Kanahu police and then eventually moves over to the Banshee police. I'm going to put him in the B tier. I think he's solid. I think he's a pretty good addition. He's involved in some pretty great scenes, but other than that, not much else to his character. But I love the shootout scenes that he's in. He's phenomenal in those. Brock Lotus here, a main part throughout most of these series. I'm going to put him in the B tier. I think he's solid. Um, I think he's a dumbass for not going back with his wife, and he's like too focused on his job. But he's always kind of getting tossed around. He's just not tough enough as a cop, but I think he's okay. Um, I'm actually watching The Sopranos as I'm currently filming this, and he's also an FBI agent in that show, so that was insane to see. The actor who plays both Brock and the FBI agent on The Sopranos, so that's pretty cool. Next here we have Kurt, of course. Kurt is someone who comes in the later seasons. I'm gonna put Kurt in A tier. He was someone who was involved in the neo Nazis, but he eventually turns to be a cop. And, he's trying to turn his life around. He's trying to be better for himself. He's trying to get away from that life. He's not someone who wants to live that way anymore, and I think his story is really, really great. Such a down-to-earth guy, and really one of the better characters in the later seasons. Next, here we have his counterpart in Calvin. Calvin here. I'm going to put Calvin in C tier. I think he's okay. I think they could have done a lot better with his character as sort of this villain for Kurt. He's okay. But another one who kind of gets bitched around. And yeah, so C tier. Next year, another one of the better ones in the series, you have Carrie Hopewell or Anastasia. Of course, I'm going to put her in S tier. I think she's a great character. I think she really balances well off of the sheriff. Of course, they have the big history. Basically, the only reason he goes to the city is for her. Of course, because of his past life. I think they work really well together. She is great in the rest of the team. Another person who is S tier here, we are going to put Clay Burton here. The henchman or right hand man for Kai Proctor. Burton is such a badass, man. In the Fixer of Sorts episode, my favorite episode of the series, his fight with Noah is one of the best one-on-one fights I've ever seen. That was an amazing fight. Clay Burton is such a badass in the show, and he's an S tier. Now here is one of the characters. I can't really see who this is. I believe though this is Tommy. I believe this is Tommy Littlestone here. So I'm gonna put him in the B tier. I think he's okay. Chayton is definitely a lot better though. So I'm gonna just put him in the B tier. He's involved in one of the best shootout scenes though. But again, I could be wrong on this just because I can't really see his face that well in this. But yeah. Next here we have the General Stowe. I think he's involved in the best season. Season 3, I think, is my favorite season. I think he's like one of the better villains in the show. I'm gonna put him in B tier. I think he's really, really strong as a villain. Pretty ruthless guy. Has that military background, and yeah, I think he's a really, really good character here. Next up here we have the original mayor of the show. I'm gonna put him in D tier. This dude's just not memorable at all. Not really that great. I like Gordon and Kai a lot better in the series later on. So yeah, D tier. Next, Deva, easily the biggest kid in the whole show, revolving around. I'm gonna put her in the C tier though. I think they really could have done a lot better with her character, and really fleshed her out more. She's like a troubled kid, and she goes through all this, she does all this petty theft, and is like kind of like a normal teenager. But I think that they could have taken her one of two ways. I think that they should have made her like someone who really sympathizes with her family, and kind of goes along with what's going on. I know that she's like sort of a lost child of sorts, but yeah. And then also I think she does all these petty crimes that are she's easily going to be able to get caught. I think that it would have been really cool to see her be sort of a semi-professional, or getting a little bit more professional with it. of course, with her parents being who they are. Next here we have Emily Lotus. This is, of course, Brock's ex-wife. I'm gonna put her in the C tier. I never really had a problem with her. She's really not in long. She takes care of Kai's sick mother. That's pretty much what she's in for. I'm not really a fan of her getting with Kai, but I pretty much knew that was gonna happen. That really doesn't last long at all, though. But she's okay. She's a solid character. C tier. Next here we have Big Emmett, man. I loved Emmett. Emmett was awesome. It's so sad, the stuff that Emmett goes through, man. But Emmett's A tier. I think he's one of the better police in the show. And yeah, he's going to go A tier. Next here we have the original leader of the Kanaho at the start of the series. I believe this is Alex's father. I believe his name is George. I'm going to put him in the C tier. I think Alex is just better. They really flesh out Alex a lot more than the original Kanaho leader. He dies pretty early on from medical complications. So yeah, he's just not really that memorable. Definitely they focus a lot more with Alex than with George. Next year, Gordon Hopewell. I'm going to put him in the B tier. You know, he's solid. You know, I kind of understand what he's going through, and all this stuff that gets put on him is insane. But, you know, he gets beat every time by Lucas in every altercation that they have. I think he's okay as a character. He's solid. But is he someone that I'm absolutely in love with? No. But he's a solid B tier. Jason Hood, I'm going to put him in C tier. Jason Hood was a solid character, you know, just a big screw up though, but he does give us one of the best scenes in the entire show with Brantley. Again, someone who I have no idea why he's not on this tier list. Brantley was awesome. I love that story. So yeah, him as a character C tier, but some of the plots that he brings is really, really great. So yeah, first here we have one of the people who I have no clue about. It looks like this is someone who works in the law enforcement. No clue, and her as well. I'm going to put them in D tier because they are just not memorable. I don't really know who they are. I've looked all over, don't know who they are. So D tier for both of these people. Job, Job might be my second favorite character. He's definitely probably in the top 3. I love Job, man. Job is fucking awesome. Job is like this top tier hacker, or he works, of course, with Lucas and Anastasia, and he is awesome, man. Just some of his one-liners and his humor is really, really great. He's a badass too. You know, he can fight as well. He's awesome. Job is awesome. Okay, next here we have the albino. This is, of course, the person who Lucas has to deal with when he's in prison, and they show a lot of flashbacks to that. Of course, employed by the infamous Rabbit, who we'll get to in a little bit. And you know, he's like the most feared guy in the entire prison, and then you see the great scene how Lucas kind of outsmarts him. It's really, really great. He's a great villain. One of the better short-end villains of the series. Next here we have Declan. I'm going to put him in the C tier. I think he's okay, but I'm just really not as big on Season 4. Season 4 is probably my least favorite season. And, you know, I'm not really the biggest fan of all the anti-religion stuff that goes on with him. You know, not really my cup of tea, so I'm gonna put him in the C tier. I think it would have been a lot better, and I would have definitely appreciated a lot more if you know, they would have fleshed his character out a little bit more and really went more in depth on these victims that he's using, and did that a little bit better. Next here we have this guy. Leo. He worked for the military, and of course, you gets involved with Job, and what happens with him and Job is so satisfying conclusion for him. This dude's a real asshole. But for character-wise, I'm going to put him in the C tier as well. He's all right. All right villain, sort of. He's not really the heavy lifter out there or the greatest fighter. But I think he's pretty solid for the later seasons as a villain. So, C tier. Next here we have Maggie. Maggie, I'm going to put B tier. So, yeah. She's married with Calvin. But, Kurt tries to kind of get her out of that life. And she kind of wants to get out of that life. She's someone who doesn't want to be involved kind of in what's going on with that group. And I sympathize with her with that. I know her father, of course, was involved in that life. And that's how she kind of gets involved. But I like Maggie. Maggie's B tier. Another character I really don't remember too much. This might be one of the people, who is in the projects or redneck or whatever. I'm going to put him in the D tier. Just someone who's not really memorable to me. Again, if you could kind of point this person out. So, yeah. Next, here we have Max. Max, I'm sorry, man. I got to put Max in D tier. Max just is so forgotten in this series. It seems like everything revolves around Deva when it comes to the kids. Max, literally the only character development he has is like that he has like severe asthma. Pretty much, he doesn't like do anything. So I think that they could have definitely had a better secondary character. It didn't even feel like they could have easily taken Max out of the show and it wouldn't affect anything that went on. It seemed like he was only there for plot points where he had to go to the hospital and bring the family back together. So yeah, he was just kind of a plot tool used for other things in the show. Nina here, of course, this is the police officer employed by Kai Proctor later in the series. C tier, I think she's okay. Definitely someone who could have been a little bit better though, and someone who just I think the way that she goes out is crazy, though. That's definitely great, but not one of my favorites. Now, one of my favorites here is Noah. I love Noah. I'm going to put Noah in A tier. Noah's awesome. Her and Clay have one of the best fights in the entire show. I think she's the best female from the Kanaho for sure. One of the best female lead or female characters in the story here. Noah's awesome. Olek here, of course, someone who works for Rabbit. I'm gonna put him in the B tier. We don't get to see him much, but another one where crazy fight scenes. Olek is awesome. I think he's really badass. I think it would have been so cool to see him a lot more. So yeah. Kai Proctor, I mean, this image speaks for itself, man. Kai fucking just gets out of everything, man. This dude's a fucking badass. S tier, man. Kai is someone who really grew on me throughout the series, I really liked the double villain perspective with Rabbit and Proctor. And Proctor, man, this man seems like he can get out of anything, man. Any situation that is thrown at this man's way, he just finds a way to come away out of it. It's really, really great to see. And they didn't overdo it, They could have easily overdone it. But I think they did it a right amount to where, you feared this guy. He was a legit villain who legit could take people down. That's what you need in a villain, someone who can bring the fear when you don't know what's going to happen. So, yeah. Next here, we have the first F-tier character. I just couldn't stand her at all. Rebecca Bowman. Of course, she's with the Amish at the start. And, of course, Kai is her uncle. And she goes and, sort of works for Kai later in the series and never liked her. Never liked her at all. I just thought she was just pretty horrible character all around. Not even like one redeeming quality in my opinion. I definitely think there's characters out there that I've seen in shows that are worse than her or irritate me more, but just not a fan of her at all. And I just think she's F tier. Chayton here, man. Chayton Littlestone, S tier, man. Another great villain in the series. Another great villain. A season 3 villain, but he's seen earlier in the show. Man, this dude's just fucking a badass too. Another one, just such a freaking badass, man. Really, really great to see. I remember seeing this guy. I believe he was on Pair of Kings when I was growing up as a kid. I remembered that guy, and I had to look him up. The actor. This dude is so intimidating, man. Plays a great, great leader. Shaban here, Shaban Kelly. Of course, another one who works with the police. I'm gonna put her in B tier. I think I definitely like her better than Brock. So if I had to rank like the early police days, Lucas, Emmett, Shaban, and then Brock would probably be how I'd rank them. Shaban was cool and all. Rory wasn't the biggest on her and Lucas's relationship. I don't know. I didn't see the chemistry there, but she was pretty solid character. Sugar, man, I love me some Sugar. Sugar's awesome. Sugar Bates, man, A tier. He's kind of the one who starts it all. Even though Lucas is the one who's the main focus. Everything goes down in the first episode at his bar. He's really, really great. He offers Lucas a place to stay. He even gets involved in some of their antics later on. Sugar's awesome, such a wholesome guy. You can't hate on the guy. So yeah, A tier. Next here we have the FBI agent who comes in the last season, Dawson. I'm gonna put her in D tier, man. I just wasn't a fan of her either. Something about her just didn't click with me, man. Rui wasn't the best person to bring in for the job. That's all I'll say. Rabbit, man. I loved Rabbit. I think it's awesome. He was like a Ukrainian mobster, man. Freaking, I love that. S tier, man. Rabbit's awesome. Even though Rabbit's not really directly involved with a lot of the shit that goes down, he orchestrates it, especially in the earlier seasons and in the past. He's awesome. He really reminds me of a character from Prison Break called General Jonathan Krantz. I think the two are so similar. They're like leaders of a big organization in the crime sector, and they're both feared. They're not someone who really gets their hands dirty, but they have a whole bunch of people who work for them, and very feared old guy who's really never seen in the limelight. He tries to keep a low profile. That I really like. I think he does that better than Krantz in Prison Break. Just really someone who reminded me of General Jonathan Krantz. So yeah, S tier for Rabbit. And then the show itself, it's between S and A. I'm gonna put in S though. I fucking loved Banshee, especially when it was really clicking on all cylinders. I think it was really, really great. Some of these characters, some came, some go. But overall, I think it's really, really great. I think these S tier characters really carry the entire show. Some of the best in the A tiers are amazing as well. I think it's a really, really badass show. Like I said, if you like stories that follow anti-heroes and the bad guys, and even if you like police procedurals, because it follows the police a lot in this story, I think you would really, really like Banshee. It's one of the most underrated and one of the most underappreciated shows of all time. So yeah, without further ado, that is going to do it for the tier list here. I would recap, but this again is a little bit bigger of a tier list, but I will definitely leave a link to it in the description below if you want to fill it out for yourself and take a look. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and